I have wanted to be a teacher since I was 7 or 8. When I was little, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an educator. And my poor sister and brother I used to make lessons and worksheets for them on Saturday. And we'd get up and we'd play school, and I had a desk, and they had to be my students. So I don't know that I've ever wanted to be anything else.
And you said you've been teaching for 13 years, and 12 of those are here. Tell me a little bit about this school. For somebody that's never stepped foot in here, what would you tell them about the school and the staff and the kids?
I say this and people don't understand, but Turkey Run is special. It really is. Our students are special, and our parents are special, and our community. It is a different place. When you walk in this building, you can feel it. It sounds cliche, but it's a family. I know my students, and I know their families, and they know me, and we go to church together, and we go to ball games together, and we eat at the same restaurants because it's a small community. And so I care in a different level, I think, than if you have so many kids in and out of your room. And it's not, I see my kids from the time they played ball with my kids all the way through, because we're in one building. So I get to watch them even go on into high school and graduate. And that's different, that's special.
Yeah. Now, I know there are some people out there that would say, oh, middle school kids.
I hear that a lot.
Middle school kids? What is it about middle school kids that you like?
Middle school kids are unpredictable, and I love that. I love that every day they're spontaneous, and they're moody, and they're emotional, and they're fun. They're not too cool. When you get in high school, you have a cool factor, and they're not there. They're still kids, but they're independent. They think they know. They think they know what they want. They think they know about the world, but yet they're still childlike. They're just in this fun middle ground that is confusing but exciting, and I love it. I love that it's different every day.
Yeah. So. And what if somebody walks into your classroom? What are they going to see? What kind of learning are they going to see? What are they going to see in any given day?
Very non-traditional. I think even from when I was going to school, and I had great teachers, but very tech-based. Now the world is technology, so we're talking about apps in class, and we have our Chromebooks, and everything's digital. But at the same time, I don't feel like everything should be technology. So kids still like to make things and still like to write with an actual pencil and not just a keyboard. So it's a very mixed, lots of hands-on. I'm not a teacher that stays in one place. Maybe that's why I like middle school so much. I'm up and down and at their level and sitting at the desks with them and helping them, and it's very, what I would call, hands-on, and they run the curriculum. So they tell me how fast or slow we go, depending on their needs. So,
and that brings me to a good point. Do you have a teacher that you remember growing up as a kid that you had that you said, wow, that's the teacher that I remember. I want to pattern my teaching style after them? I was fortunate to have a lot of really good teachers. I went to school in Vigo County, so I had a lot of good teachers. I also was all over the country. My dad moved, so went to some schools in other states too. But I could name, there was a 4th grade and a 5th grade teacher, and then I had a great teacher in high school, a couple great teachers that really molded who I became and encouraged me. So I think it was just a mixture of all the different, they were all different styles, but all of them cared. And I always felt like when I walked in their room, they truly cared about me. And so I can't tell you what grade I made in that class, but I knew they cared about me. And that's the one thing I want my kids, even if they don't academically feel like that was the best they could do, they will always walk in here and know Mrs. Jacks cares about me. Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to ask you is, what do you want after kids leave your class, or maybe even 10, 20 years down the road, what do you want them to remember about you?
I think it's important, your character is important, and character leads to your legacy. And I want people to know that I was kind and that I cared, and I had some common sense. Sometimes life happens, and you can't always, kids aren't black and white. They can't fit into the mold of, well, this is the way it always is, and kids, they're people, and they have situations, and so when they walk in here, if they don't have their homework but something went on last night, I want them to know that they can come talk to me, and they do, and they come in, and there's some compassion there, yet still a high accountability. They know this is my expectation, but it's met with kindness and caring and compassion.
And did you know, obviously you guys have a Golden Apple winner from last year. Did you know about the Golden Apples before that?
I remember watching them, and I'm from Vigo County, graduated from Terre Haute South, so I remember watching and thinking that is really cool. And in college, went to Indiana State, and I believe personally that everything's 110%. If you're going to do anything, you do it at 110 or you don't do it. It's no 50, no 60. You give your all. That's just my personal. In everything you do. And so even in college, I always thought, I want to be the best that I can be. And that's so cool that there's teachers that are recognized for that. So,
what does it mean to you to be in that list? I mean, it's really, I mean, it's happened for a lot of years, but it's still a relatively small list.
It still hasn't sunk in. I just think, wow, there isn't very many people on that list, even though it's been 26 years, and there's so many great educators that don't have a Golden Apple. And so to me, to think, wow, they really saw me as something I do every day. I don't know, it's my gift, I guess. I do it every day. I take for granted that this is my passion and this is my love. So it still hasn't sunk in that someone said, wow, congratulations, you're a good teacher. And I don't know, it's so satisfying and fulfilling, and you just don't hear the education a lot of times gets beat up on, and teachers get beat up on, and you don't mean to, but it's just part of, you only hear the negative. So to hear the positive is just, and to hear the people coming out of the woodwork saying, oh yeah, I loved her class, and parents saying, congratulations, you really deserve that, is so gratifying to think, oh, I'm in the right place. I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So.
And that brings up a couple good points. It's not an easy time to be an educator.
No, it's not. It's not.
How do you deal with that day in and day out? When you see the news, when you I'm sure you discuss it in meetings, and yet you have to come in here every day and do the best job that you can, and not let it affect your teaching. I mean, how do you do that day in and day out?
Sometimes, I'll be honest, it's harder than other days. There have been years, and especially in the last couple years, where so much has changed, and really people have kind of ganged up on teachers and educators and all alike. But I love kids. I love my classroom, and I don't know, I get to do this every single day, and I actually love it. I look forward to coming to work, and every first day of school I have butterflies. I'm like, oh, are my kids, what are they going to be like? And so I, a lot of times, just shut it off and think, I know what my kids need, and I know what they need to be successful, and I know what my job is, but I don't want them to feel any of that pressure and that negative. It's not their fault what's going on in politics and bureaucrats and all, that's not their fault. So they are the reason I come in, not the rules, not the negative. I like being in front of them and with them, so.
And the other question I had was, what did it mean to you to be able to sit down and read the letter that Atlantis wrote?
I was just shocked to have a student take the time and write a letter and talk about what I did in the classroom for her. Again, I just do this every day. At least I don't think about, well, they're going to remember this lesson, they're going to remember this moment. I just come in and do what I do, and it meant a lot to have a student take the time, because I I don't know that I would have as a student, and I had great teachers, but I never took that time to thank them. So it really means a lot that someone would think of me and go, I'm going to nominate her for that because she means something to me. So
now, do you have any memories or moments that you can think of that when you're teaching that you maybe had kids that didn't get something, or that had those aha moments, or something that made you realize this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm a teacher?
I think there have been lots of little moments, but having different students, as they've gone on, we've had some tragedy happen, which is when you're in education long enough and work with that many kids, where then you hear from families what you meant to someone, or from the child what you meant. But we've also had those stories where I've had that child who had that label and struggle, because English is hard. And a lot of students come into my class with IEPs because this is reading and writing can be a tough subject. And you think, oh, they struggle. But you keep plowing and you keep helping, and then in 8th or 9th grade, it all clicks. And that's not just that year, it's all that love, and they come back and they go, thank you. And so many, without giving specifics, it's those little moments when a student, the judge in CAST, a student walked in at the beginning of the semester, and I was teaching, and he's a junior this year, and he popped his head in and he pointed his finger at the class, said, you listen to Mrs. Jacks, because she is a great teacher and you'll learn a lot, just listen to her. And then he popped out and he left. And the kids were like, what just happened? But they look up to the kids, and again, for a student to stop in and say that and then leave, you're like, huh. And this wasn't a student who made A's in my class. He struggled through, but that probably seems insignificant, but it's those little moments when someone just gets it. Or I get to go with my kids for 2 years, which is cool. And they may struggle the first year, and middle school's tough socially too. And so that can have a bearing on their education. But then maybe by 7th grade, all of a sudden it just clicks and they're happy. And I don't know, in a small school, I coach and I teach, and so you get to see the kid as a whole kid, not just in English.
What do you coach?
I have been the varsity cheer coach, and I am the drama director for high school and middle school and elementary school. So I run 3 programs. And I'm the student council sponsor, so I run the middle school student council.
So yeah, you don't do much.
No, not at all. But just keeping them busy. But you see, I think those are important elements too, of being able to plug kids in, where in a big school you don't always know that, but you can really find those gems and go to that kid and say, I think this could be for you. And you can
Yeah.